Hello, my beautiful family. It's your girl, Dr. Shonna, and we are back with another broadcast. We are going to be talking about the brawl that happened at Magic Kingdom in Florida. So, for those of you guys that don't know what is all over the news, because I know many of us do not watch news, such as myself, but I get all the information from lovely people like you. So, we're going to go over the Florida brawl. But before we go ahead and get started about what is happening at Magic Kingdom in Disney World, where families go to visit, everything is about families, right? Everything has to be family oriented. When family goes to visit in Florida, a fight broke out. But before we go ahead and get started, family, I'm going to need you all to do me a small little favor. If you are on YouTube, I am going to need you all to subscribe to the channel by hitting that little subscribe button and selecting the bell to be notified when I'm going live and for all my uploads. Give the video also a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. If you are on Facebook, family, go ahead and follow the page, like the page, and make sure you interact with the hearts, the caring, the angry, the sad, whatever emojis you want to put, make sure you interact with them. For all my people out there, I have not got my products out there, but everything should have been mailed off to each and every last one of you guys. So for those who don't know what I'm talking about, my most popular products are my pheromone perfumes and my massage oil candles. The massage oil candles is underused. I think you guys need to up your ante, even though you do order them a lot. You need to up your ante because you're going to need a massage after tonight. After tonight's conversation, you're going to need a massage. So I hope there's somebody there that can light that candle, set the mood, and give you a massage. Nothing has to go down if you don't want it to, but you're going to need a massage after this one. For all you guys who would like to check out my page, go ahead and visit Helping Couples Reconnect.com. Again, that page is Helping Couples Reconnect.com. I see all my family from YouTube and all my family from Facebook coming through. So I think it is about time for us to go ahead and get started with tonight's conversation. Now, I've been quiet. My researchers are on break. Oh, wow, I just got some bad news in the audience. I just got some bad news in the audience. So thank you for that. I do recognize that. Dr. Zealand has passed away on Tuesday. I will make sure to reach out to the family and to send my condolences and be there trying to get funeral information. I will be there in attendance. So thank you for that. I really do appreciate that. But as I was saying, that's not good news. That's really bad news. But as I was saying, I want you guys to know that I wasn't going to come on live. I wasn't, because I said, there's a lot of things going on, but nothing I'm interested in talking about because it has to make sense for me. And I know some of you guys are going to probably try to figure out, after I give you the information regarding this, why is she talking about this fight? It makes us look bad as a community. Why is she highlighting this brawl that happened in Disney World? Because it makes us look bad at the community, or look bad to the world regarding the community. No, I'm going to highlight it because I'm always telling you all the key to our success is found in our families, is found in how we move in these streets. If we're going to change things, it's not about what they can give us or do for us, but what we can do and give ourselves, and how we must show up and how we must move. So for me, this fight really bothered me because it's happening at one of the places that it really should not be happening at. Not for reasons why you guys think it should be happening there because it's a children's spot. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't happen there because it's a children's spot. But when I give you guys the information and we go through some history, you're going to understand why I say this is not a spot, we should be acting like this at. So let's talk about it. So I watched this video that is all over mainstream news. If you don't know, just go ahead and Google Disney World Brawl. That's all you have to put, because over the last 22, 23 hours, the news, every last news source has been picking up this fight. And the fight shows what appears to be a black family. Now, the reason why I do this, because black is like a coverall to include anybody under that umbrella. And I don't want to make any assumptions as to what kind of black they were, but it appears to be a black family, all in matching outfits. So it's not hard to tell who they are because they have on their white shirts, their white Disney shirts. You know how we do. I'm not trying to be funny. But you know how some of us do. Got a white t-shirt on. Some of them have their red pom-pom shorts on, red bottoms. You know, not red bottoms and such as the shoes, but red bottoms like their shorts, their tights, their leggings. You know, the colors was white and red. A family trip. You know, box braids all down their butt. You know, a family trip. Everybody looking all special. You know, family trip. And then the other family appears to be, I would say, Indian, right? They could be something different, I don't know. But they appear to be some type of Indian, Southeast Asian, something like that. Now, the story goes, according to mainstream media, the story goes that two families are on the line. One of the members of the Indian family gets off the line to go get her cell phone, and then she comes back. Now, the black family decides to block her, allegedly, from coming into the line. Allegedly. She makes her way through. How? I don't know. And allegedly, somebody pushes her. She must have told her family members. After the theater show is over, the family members are outside of the theater waiting for the matching family with their white tops and their red bottoms to come out of the theater, and then they said some words about pushing their younger sister, and they didn't appreciate that. Whatever happens, the fight breaks out. It's all caught on camera. They're fighting everywhere. Somebody is calling them monkeys, animals. The women who have on the white tops, the red bottoms, are fighting the men on the other side of the group. The men are fighting the men. The women are fighting the women. Everybody is fighting in the street. Shirts are being ripped. It's a hot mess at Disney World. At Disney World. So why are all the news outlets picking up this story? I need y'all to ask yourself that question. Why are all the news outlets picking up the stories? Because fights happen everywhere. They happen at Great Adventures. They happen at Busch Gardens. They happen at Disneyland. Remember that fight in 2019? Another one captured on TV. A terrible fight involving what appears to be a black family as well. Terrible fight. The mama is handicapped. The mama got pushed down. The man went crazy in 2019 and beat up the other girl for pushing down his mama. Then he beat up another woman. He was just beating up women in the streets. You don't remember that? So that happened at Disneyland. That made the news all over the place. Now this is happening at Disney World, making the news all over the place. So I said, what is going on here? Why is this news? Now, on the surface, people would say that this is news because it's Disney World. And this is a family theme park. And children are present at these parks. And so a fight to happen at these parks are inappropriate. It really shouldn't go down. The reason why I'm concerned about it, maybe because my goal and my focus is saving black families and saving black marriages and saving black relationships and saving black children. Maybe because that's my focus. But I'm more concerned about it because I know that we have always been and will continue to say, or continue to be rather, part of a social experiment. So Kim is saying she haven't heard of it. A lot of people saying they haven't. Go ahead and Google it. Just go ahead and Google it. It happened in the last 23 hours. It is fresh off the press. Go ahead and Google it. Watch all the videos that are out there. This isn't good. And this will add on to their social experiment when it comes to us. It will add on to their use of propaganda. We will be continued to be painted as hooligans. We will be painted as the problem. And believe it or not, things will start happening as it is right now to start to shift the landscape and change what is about to come down a pipeline. See, too many people tend to think that all of this stuff is conspiracy talk. Everything is conspiracy talk. Oh, this don't mean nothing. It's just a fight. This don't mean nothing. It's just two people fighting. This don't have nothing to do with nothing. It ain't even news. And on the surface, I would agree with you on the surface, but it made the news. And I doubt it made the news because it's Disney. Well, it did make the news because it's Disney, but there's something greater here. See, if you understand and know the history of Disney, you might start piecing things together and you might start looking at this through a critical lens. Y'all know I always tell you how to think critically. And because we're failing to think critically, we continue to fall into the overall agenda. And we don't even know it. We don't even know that we are part of a larger experiment. And I'm going to show you that tonight. I'm going to show you tonight how we continue to be a part of a larger experiment. And this experiment is going bad. It's going bad. And everybody's preparing for what's to come because the experiment is going bad. So let's talk about Walt Disney for just a second, so you guys can better understand the subtle messages. Because see, I think that some of us as a people, things have to be spelled out for us in plain English, put out there for us to see it. They have to pretty much call us some really bad names, do some really bad things to us in order for us to say, oh my God, this is bad. Why this is happening to us? But that's not how it works. That's not how it never works that way. Everything is always silent. And you just got to learn how to pay attention. Disneyland was founded in 1955. Disney World was founded in 1971. And it's only until recently it has grown as diverse as it is, because Disney World and Disneyland was never ever a diverse family park. They have been making it their duty to make their parks more inclusive over the last decade. You got to understand why that was the reason. Disney World and Disneyland are staples. They're staples. That's what I meant. They're staples of hierarchies. What do I mean when I say that? Disneyland and Disney World are symbolic to hierarchies that promote the vision and mission of Disney. If you think about 1955, if you think about the 70s where they were, Disney's propaganda, Disney's advertisement catered to those of a particular race. It catered to those of a particular class. It catered to certain gender roles, patriarchal, right? And it catered to the nuclear family unit. The family orientation, a man, a woman, and children. That was the staple of Disney. And all throughout the civil rights era, many changes came because people put pressure on the Disney company to make the changes. And even when Disney started to make the changes, family, throughout their parks, there were themed propagandas insulting American Indians, and themed propaganda insulting blacks, and themed propaganda insulting indigenous African people. And these sites went on for a very long time. And through much protest and much fight, little by little, they started to change the little symbolic gestures that communicated race, class, gender, and family orientation. They started to change it little by little over time to try to keep up with the changing times, especially since the pressure was being put on them. Over the last decade, in the last decade alone, they have changed rides, and they have made a lot of their rides more culturally sensitive. Why do you think they're doing that, family? Like, for example, Splash Mountain. If you ever been to Disney World before, I've been there when I was younger. I was like in my 20s, so it's been over 2 decades. I've been at Disney's. But Splash Mountain used to have a theme there that was the Song of the South. And the Song of the South represented black people who would do whatever they needed to do, put it that way, to blend in with white America. Right? And so they had this theme as a part of Splash Mountain. You got all these black type of people who are being depicted as people who want to be as close to white as possible. Why is that in a Disney park? Why would they have that theme in a Disney park? When I see this brawl that happened this year, the first one I saw was in 2019, the other black family, and now we have this brawl here, 2022, just happened just 23 hours ago, maybe 24 hours ago now, just 2022. See, when I think about that, it makes me feel like, to some degree, and I want to know who else can relate to, because I'm going to say it, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to say it, because I know a lot of people ain't going to like the way it sounds, but that's okay. But it makes me feel like to some degree, we as a community, not all of us, to some degree, we as a community, whether we can help it or we cannot, I don't think we can help it. I'm going to tell you why I don't think we can help it. I'm about to get into that in this video. I don't think we can help it. But whether we can help it or not, we seem to be feeding into the propaganda. We're feeding into the stereotypes. We're validating the lies about us. Let me show you what I mean. So as I was going through different social media sites to see what people were saying about this fight, I came across the Shade Room. And the Shade Room posted up a video of this fight. And they gave a little synopsis of what went down. And then, of course, I always like to read the comments. Because when we comment on something, and I say it to us all the time. I say it to my community all the time. When we comment on something about our community that's not being put in the best light, we become a fishbowl. And everybody wants to watch what we're saying and what we're doing. And when I was looking at the comments, the overall theme of these comments was they were ghetto. People said, oh no, not in the matching outfits, making jokes about the matching outfits. And implying that that's something that we do. People say we can't take them nowhere. So you know, family, if y'all in a family, you know what that means. We can't take them nowhere. You know what that means. They called them uncivilized. There was a lot of name calling of these people in the video. And when you look at the people who's writing those name callings, most of them look just like us. Ghetto, a bunch of you know what, a bunch of ninjas, can't take ninjas nowhere. This is how the language is. And when you listen to the video through all the chaos, you even heard one of the members of the Indian family that was fighting against the black family call them monkeys, call them animals, all this stuff. And this is all being broadcast on national TV. This is like a dog whistle. It's a dog whistle. So I said, what are they about to do? Somebody said, why blame the black family? Why talk down on them? I don't know why people do that, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you how we're constantly feeding into a larger social experiment, and many of us don't even realize that it is happening. See, they're putting it out on the news, and we're looking at the news as though it's just a fight. This is ignorant. I don't believe this happened at Disneyland. There's children there, or Disney World. There's children there. Why would they do that? We're putting it out there, and you don't realize that when you put that kind of information out there, it creates biases, racial biases, cultural biases. It creates biases in the minds of people who are watching it. And not just white minds, not just Indian minds, not just Asian minds, but also black minds as well. Because then it creates a us versus them, and nobody wants to be around them. You wonder why all these changes are happening. You wonder why all these things are happening. You wonder why there's so many research reports studying us as a people. I sit down there and I think about that all the time. Why are we always the focus of somebody's study? Why are we being broadcasted in this light? See, somebody would say, well, then stop acting like that. Right? Somebody would say, then stop acting like that. And I said to you just a moment ago, I'm going to show you why I think some of us can't even help it. See, I know you're not going to like me saying that. Why would you say we can't help it, just do better? Some of us can't even help it because for generations, generation after generation after generation, we have been the product of a larger social experiment. And we're just seeing it take place right now in front of us. And we're so conditioned and so trained that we don't even realize that we are the test dummies. I'm going to take you back to the Kenner Report. Kenner, the Kenner Report. That was under the Lyndon B. Johnson era. I'm going to start there. I'm going to start there for a second. Lyndon B. Johnson era. And in that report, he was studying white flight. And what might be some conditions that happen that causes white flight. Now, this is back then when white flight was a thing. Not that it's not a thing, but you know what I mean. When it was a thing. And in that report, they were saying that two societies are being created. A white society and a black society. And these two societies are separate and unequal. And how white flight was happening was because anytime a black family or black people started to move into communities that was predominantly occupied by white people would get up and leave those communities and go into the suburbs and the outer skirts of those communities to set up their shops there, to set up their neighborhoods there so they could be away from black people. But in 2008, this is where some of y'all come in at. No offense, right? No offense. Some of y'all come up in this era. Some of y'all, because see, some of y'all drink the Obama juice. and y'all started to believe that we were entering into a post-racial era because that's what they were selling you to get your votes, and y'all went for it. We're entering a post-racial era, and that was a complete farce. In fact, I kid you not, if I would have had my other notes, I don't have my other notes with me. Hopefully, let me see. Maybe I can come up with it to see what my other notes are, because I'm gonna show you how that was a complete farce. No, I don't have that. I think it was a psychological review. But nonetheless, in a research study, they realized that that wasn't even true. We were not in a post-racial era. In fact, what was happening during the Obama time was more cities and more suburbs became racially segregated. It wasn't just the suburbs anymore. It was becoming racially segregated even within cities. Like, for example, you can go to Chocolate City and see what happened there. You can go to Harlem and see what happened there. Right? So what they started to see is that creative zoning laws were being created that would keep certain people out of the community. See, you could no longer make it so as they used to do it back in the days, the Jim Crow laws. You could no longer say black people couldn't live here. So they got real creative on zoning laws, how they would set it up to keep you out of their communities, such as banning low-income housing from being created in certain communities, or zoning laws that were banning affordable housing from being erected in certain communities. You don't gotta believe me, look it up. Or restricted apartment buildings from being built in certain communities. See, those were the creative ways that they did to try to separate and keep us separated from each other, because they already know that their social experiment is turning on their face. They got to control it. So even though they sold you a farce that we was entering into a post-racial era, in fact, what the current researchers is showing us is resegregation is happening all over again. See, there is no more white flight that is going on. Remember what I said white flight was? There is no more black people move in and white people move out. Now what we have and what we're seeing is white avoidance. White avoidance. Where whites are just not going to certain places. They're not just engaging in certain things. They're not moving into certain communities. They're not moving out, fleeing from you, but they're just not moving into certain communities because they're paying attention to the landscape. Who are the people moving into the community? Let's think about Disney World. When you're putting these brawls, and this is not the first one, this brawl that has been posted 24 hours ago is not the first brawl that mainstream media has captured with respects to Walt Disney World and Walt Disneyland. This is not the first fight. In every last fight that they have posted, most of them, if not all of them, were black people. What message you think they're sending out there? What dog whistle is going off? Because raising the prices is not keeping us out the park. Raising the prices is not going to get us to walk away. It ain't going to happen that way. They sending out a dog whistle. Anytime they post something like that. See, you got to think about it this way, family. Let me show you how mainstream media tends to work. You got to think about it like this. An established park like Disney World, Disneyland, or other major named park, themed park, when bad things happen in these parks, they tend not to advertise it because it will bring down their revenue. We don't want to scare the people in thinking that these parks are not safe to go to. Because if the people feel that they will not be safe bringing their children and their families to the park, our revenues will go down. So why would these things be advertised, thus risking the opportunity of revenue increasing. Why? 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 It doesn't serve the park justice playing this video. It doesn't serve the park justice with this video going viral and making it a part of your mainstream news media. Listen, a lot of videos go viral every day that mainstream media do not put it on the news. They don't even touch you with a 10-foot pole. They keep it moving. They go to something else. So why this video, family? This is how I need y'all to start thinking. Why this video? I sort of feel like is their way of sending out their dog whistle that says, you go to this park, this can happen. How are you going to protect yourself when these animals pop off on you and potentially putting you, your wife, your children at risk of harm? This is how these animals act. These people are moving into your communities. These people are taking over. What are you guys going to do about it? How are you going to protect your family from these animals? What are you going to do about it? If you're in Disney Park on a line with your precious sons and daughters and these animals start popping off, what are you going to do about it? See, this is not happening by an accident. And that's why I say I get so mad, because we fall into this trap all the time. And when you really look at what's happening all around us, so many communities are avoiding certain areas. Communities are changing over time. They're shifting over time. They're being transferred from white into Asian, from white into Indian. And anytime it gets transferred from white into black, everything leaves. All the resources leave, all the money leaves, the educational resources leave, everything goes, everything leaves. And this is not something that happens overnight. You got to understand, this is not an accident that they have it on mainstream media. It's happening intentionally and on purpose, but so many of us, we're just looking at it through a us versus them mindset. We're saying that is sad, we're not like that, that is them, and it is not us. So why are we acting like this? Let's get into what I want to say to y'all. Why are we acting like this? Why? Well, we all know the popular social experiments that's been happening on us. We already know about medical apartheid, because that's really popular and a lot of people talk about it. We already know about the Tuskegee experiment, because that's popular and many people talk about it. Many sources talk about it. But how many of us know about the Chicago experiment? Let me ask that again for the people in the back who can't hear me. Y'all can hear me all right tonight? How many of us know about the Chicago experiment? And you're absolutely right, Piece of Candy. Piece of Candy said this video was leaked. Yes, I said leaked to stir up drama and hatred, because yes, it gives ammo to white supremacy. It's not by accident. It's not by accident. It's on purpose. It's on purpose. Right? How many of us know about the Chicago experiment? See, I'm going to focus on Chicago because it's a real experiment that went down. But I want you to know that this experiment doesn't just exist in Chicago. This experiment exists in multiple cities across America. And Chicago is just one of those experiments that they were bold enough to talk about. Right? They were bold enough to talk about it. Let's get into that. The Chicago experiment. First of all, it's a real experiment, number one. But they started this experiment in Chicago because they wanted to know how often do African Americans from the poorest neighborhoods of the South Side of Chicago leave and explore other areas for upward mobility. How many of them pick up, move out of Chicago, move from the South Side, go to different communities that are doing better, pick communities that have better schools for their children to have a future? How many African Americans typically decide to leave for upward mobility? And what the research has found is that that rarely happens. Instead of leaving for upward mobility, what researchers started to see is that there is a churning. Yes, I said the word churning. I'm going to break it down for you. There's a churning that seems to occur. And what that means is that African Americans tend to make minor moves to new places, but when they move to a new place, it pretty much just replicates the environments in which they came from. So in other words, like some of our mamas used to say, and some of our grandmas say, you just pick up and you take the ninja with you. Right? You just pick up and you take all your ignorance with you. You take all your drama with you. It don't matter where you go. You go from one community to another community. You bring all that ignorance right along with you. So they had the Chicago experiment, where they used to have the Cabrini houses in Chicago, and they knocked down those houses to bare bones, and they started to build up mixed income units because the researchers wanted to study to see if his thesis or his hypothesis would be true. And what he said is, here's my thought. I think if we knock down these buildings and we build buildings or housing that brings in middle class people, working class people, and then we keep some of the people that were in these housing projects, we keep some of them, not all of them. I think that the people who are middle class can be role models for the lower class people so that they can tend to get the skills that they need, the networking skills that they need, so they can get better jobs, better educations, and the list goes on. This is what a researcher thought of. So they put money into this project. And they knocked down these buildings and they built up. When I say this project, I'm talking about a research study, not the projects like housing authority, right? Because I know some of us, we hear the word project and we automatically think the projects. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the housing authority. They knocked it down. They built these houses. They started interviewing people, doing background checks, doing credit checks, and they were strategic of the type of people they wanted to move into these buildings. Now, the Cabrini houses had thousands. I think it was 42,000 people, if I'm not mistaken, used to live in those housing projects, those buildings, the housing authority, Chicago Housing Authority. Maybe 42,000 people lived there. And when they knocked it down, they only selected a small amount of them to put them into these new developments of mixed income use to see what would happen. Then they brought in some people that was renting some of the units at market rate, which is way higher than the people that come in with this subsidized housing. And then they brought in other people who would buy their units. So they had people who were renting at market rate. They had people that used to be in the projects that they knocked down, and they brought them into this housing development. And then they had people who were buying their units at like $150,000. They was buying their units. And so they wanted them all to start to interact with each other to see what was going to happen. What do y'all think happened? Do y'all think the middle class people and the people who own their houses, do you think that they helped the people in the subsidized housing? I know people don't like to say the lower class, right? That's a bad thing to say. The poor class has become the bad thing to say. Everything is bad. You can't say nothing no more. You can't say lower class. You can't say poor. You can't say subsidized. You can't say nothing anymore. I don't know what to call certain categories anymore. But what I'm saying is, do you think the people who were middle class and educated were able to role model for them and to help these people with better networking skills, help these people increase their social capital in order for them to take advantage of job opportunities and to live a better life and bring in, this is what the research said, this is the research study, not my words, so don't come down my throat. The research study said to bring in middle class values. Do you think that happened? Chris said it, right? Chris said it. No. They started to attack one another. It became us versus them. Whenever the people that were supposed to bring in the middle class values saw the people from the subsidized housing, the poor, the lower class, whatever word you say without getting in trouble now, without getting banned, right? When they saw them doing things that they felt was, who does that? Instead of communicating or trying to work things out, can you turn the music down? I do appreciate you guys bringing all your family and friends over to have a party, but it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Can we stop the party? Instead of doing that, they called the cops. Right? They called the cops instead. And so the people who are of the subsidized housing units, they felt that they were being discriminated against, and they felt that they was being picked on. And what they learned from this study, and yes, like this is a real study. Y'all can Google. I'm not making this up. This is what they do. They put us in little fish bowls and they study us, and they want to see how we move. How they move. Oh, let's try to separate these black people, get them in categories. Who's safe to move with us and who's not? who can change their lives over and who cannot? I'm telling you, they study us. I'm not making this stuff up. So when they start putting out these dog whistles, you better know it's because it's another study happening. Whether it's official or unofficial, they study us all the time. Right? That's a great question, Wallace. A very excellent question, but let me finish with the conversation. Right? So what happened is they started to sit back and they say, why didn't this work? Why weren't the middle class people able to teach the poor class people middle class values? Why isn't this working? They believe in order to combat segregation, meaning we're in the same city, but whites live on this side, blacks live on this side, Asians live on this side. In order to combat that, they were saying we have to have some new strategies. We got to practice poverty deconcentration. Break it up. If you put too many poor people in one area, it ain't going to be good. Because we know that they're not going to venture too far out from what they're used to. So we got to break it up. Knock these buildings down. Knock these buildings down. Disperse them out in different areas. Put them in different areas. Send them to different cities. Give them vouchers to go to other areas. And let's study to see how they move. We got to deconcentrate the poverty. That's what the housing policy is really about. The housing policies that are out there is about deconcentrating the poverty. We got to create these mixed income units. We got to have affordable housing so we can give people who are working class an opportunity to live in better communities and have better housing. We got to try to provide role modeling. We're such a research study. We're one big research study. We got to try to provide better role modeling so that we can increase the amount of jobs for the poor people, so that they can know their job skills that are necessary, so they can have the right connection, because we know that sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know that's going to get you a job. So we got to do these things to try to show these poor people middle class values so that they can just do better and be better. But did that work? Right? Did that work? So highly favored said, so basically put them in a wild to see if they can survive. No. That's not what I'm saying. And I know what you're saying. You saying what I hear you saying, and what I think I hear you saying, highly favored, is basically you're saying that they're putting the people who own their apartments into the wild to see if they're surviving, right? And that's not what they're doing. They broke up the wild. They deconcentrated the wild, so to speak. They made smaller numbers because it was becoming too much. Because what they was finding out was, generationally speaking, from one generation to another generation, These families, these poor families, were just so concentrated, and it was existing for generation after generation after generation. Mama would have an appointment. Mama would have a child and give that appointment to the child. The child would have a child and give that appointment to that child. And then that child would have a child and give that appointment to the child. And that was happening for generation. And they weren't getting richer. They weren't becoming more educated. They were just passing down these housing project apartments over and over again. It was becoming overwhelming. And they needed to break it up. Break it up. Let's see what happens if we break it up. There's a sociologist named Stephanie DeLuca. Stephanie DeLuca. And she studied African Americans. Here's another study on our asses, right? Another study on us. She studied African Americans that reside in Baltimore and African Americans that were residing in Mobile, Alabama. And she wanted to see, when they leave their block or their building, what would be the reason why some of these people would move out? Because she found that there was generational poverty that existed, that they really wasn't moving. There's a lot of people, y'all, in the hood that have never left their community. They never went to another state. They never went to another country. They never went on vacation. A lot of them never left. And their mamas lived there. Their grandmas lived there. Their cousins, their aunties, everybody lived in the same community. So she was really curious about, why does that happen? Why do they live here so long? And when they do move, why do they move? Are they moving for upward mobility? Are they moving to have a better life? What's with these African Americans staying in these communities? Why aren't they doing better? What is happening here? Now, I don't think her study was centered like that. I don't think she was asking, like, what the hell is wrong with them? I'm putting my flavor on it. I'm putting my flavor after reading her study. I'm putting my flavor on it, because that's what I got. That was my takeaway. Now, of course, she's not going to say she was thinking that way. But I know she was thinking that way. I know she was thinking that way. So she went around, she asked some questions. And she said, your mama lives here forever. Your grandmother lived here forever. Even your great-grandmother lived here. You are the fourth generation in this hood. Why did you decide to move? She wanted to see what she was going to say. And most of these people said they had unlivable homes. And the landlords stopped doing. And their ceilings were falling down, and their water had lead in it, and the rats bit their baby when they were sleeping, and it was infested with a whole bunch of roaches. So it's not like they wanted to move. They moved because they had to move, or they moved because they were forced to move through an eviction, or they were forced to move through increased rent, or they was forced to move because their relationship failed and they could no longer afford the apartment on their own, or they were forced to move because there was a change in their housing subsidy. Maybe all the kids got older and moved out and they couldn't keep the 3-bedroom anymore and they needed to downsize to 1-bedroom, so they were forced to move. There were reasons that actually moved them. Somebody said, I'm not interested in living with roaches. I hope you're not. I hope you're not. I hope nobody, I even hope people that live with roaches ain't interested in living with roaches, right? No one wakes up and say, I want to live with roaches, right? I hope you're not interested in living with roaches. But the truth is, some of us do. And when we finally get fed up, we move, but not because we're going for upward mobility. We move because we have to move. The roaches became too much. Her study found out that the people weren't moving because of schools. They wanted better schools for the kids. Her study found out that people weren't moving because they wanted better jobs. They weren't moving because they wanted a better quality of life. In fact, only 9.47% of the people that wanted to move for a better school or for jobs or a better quality of life was only 9.4%. We're one big research study. They already know how we're going to act and how we're going to behave. They've been studying us forever. Just because you go to Disney World and you wear a matching outfit don't mean you ain't in poverty. Just because you go to Disney World and you was able to afford to get in the house don't mean you flowing with money. You don't mean you reach or you meet the standard in which Disney is looking for when it comes to the kind of people they want in their park. right? Just because you go to Disney World don't mean you automatically gonna enlighten your world's views and leave from one class of people into another class of people. You ain't gonna do any of that. See, we think we doing something big when we go certain places. But they know who's who. They know who's doing something big and who's not doing something big. Because they've been studying our asses for a very long time. Even we know that. And I don't know why we try to act like we don't want to have this kind of conversation. I'm not trying to be funny, but how many of us, who's bold enough to say, how many of us look around, we see a certain behavior in certain people, and we say, I don't want to be around these ninjas. Don't try to act like y'all don't do that, because we do that as well. See, I want you to know that that mindset is created. When you have people living in bad conditions for generation after generation after generation, poor schools, low college enrollment, minimum wage jobs, poor economic communities, the economy is shot where they come from, poor ownership of their houses, poor ownership of their businesses is hardly ever happening, increased subsidized housing in their communities. It creates a certain mindset. None of this stuff is by accident. It creates a certain mindset. Right? Somebody said, most people are sick of black people. That's sad. That's sad to read that. Right? It's sad to read that. Somebody else said the way they see it is we see them like that and others see them like that too, to be honest. It's very sad to read that. But that is the truth. And we're not talking about the truth. We're not seeing how our minds have been manipulated and controlled for centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries. And it doesn't matter that we got a little bit bold and we got in the car and we drove to Florida to go to Disney World. As long as you still got that mindset, it doesn't matter where you go, you want to bring that mindset with you. The research already said it. This experiment has been happening all over America. Not just Chicago, all over America. And we see the same thing all the time. They tear down these buildings that was ran by the housing authority with nothing but criminals, thugs, drug addicts, welfare addicts, crack addicts, you name it. Scammers, hustlers, thieves, liars, everybody in one damn building. Raising children, having children, children having children, all this in one concentrated area. And they have, from city to city to city, have knocked down these project buildings, built little townhouses, and put different income levels into these townhouses because they were hoping it was going to change the landscape of the community. And the landscape of the community don't change. It don't change. You went from acting up in the tall buildings to acting up in the townhomes. You went from hanging out in the staircases to hanging out outside the townhouse. It don't change. And just because you can get in a car and drive you behind to Florida don't mean it's going to change either. You're taking it with you to Florida. And they already know that. So they're putting those dog whistles out there on the news. They're letting you know. These people getting creative. These people are traveling all over. We can't contain them in the housing projects anymore. They're everywhere. They're going everywhere. We got to keep these people out of our community. This park was built for us. The Disney family built this park for us. Think I'm lying? The culture of a business, the culture of an agency, the culture of the company doesn't change that much from their founder. I said that to you guys before. I'll say it again. There's a whole bunch of research on that. It doesn't change that much from his founder. Just because they're letting you in, they ain't lowering the prices. They damn sure ain't lowering the prices. But just because they letting you in, don't mean they really are catering to you. Rose is asking me a question. How, doctor? How what? Tell me what you're asking me, because I may have already forgotten what I said, Rose. So tell me how. Ask me the question fully so I can give you the answer. Or at least try to give you the answer. Right? Wallace says we need to get out of the victimized mindset and start doing for ourselves. Well, here's the thing, Wallace. What I'm saying to you, Wallace, is most people are not looking at themselves as though they are victims, right? If you have been for generations and generations and generations, if you've been like this for generations, Wallace, you're not thinking you have a victimized mindset. It's what has been taught to you, that has been passed down to you for generations. It's just a mindset that you have. It's a culture. It's no longer a mindset. It becomes a culture. It becomes the way of life. That's what culture is. It's a way of life. It creates traditions. It is repeated generation after generation. It is adopted. It is embodied. It is lived every day. They're not thinking they're victims. What do you think? They're not thinking they're victims. This is the result of being, like somebody just wrote in there, indoctrinated. This is the results of being indoctrinated over and over again. This is the results of your community being, when I say you, I'm not talking about you guys individually. I'm just saying in general. So don't be like, oh, she talking about us. Dr. Shonna always talking down to us. Some people be saying dumb stuff like that. Y'all know that's not how I roll. Because they don't like what they hear. So they want to attack me as opposed to going inward and saying, how can I get better? Because I still got work to do. I still got to get better. We all got to get better. Right? But what I'm saying to you is it becomes an indoctrination, a mindset that exists from generation to generation to generation to generation. So they're not thinking that they are being victimized. They're just saying this is just what we do. This is just what we do. So Rose, are you asking me how so, meaning Disney is built for us? Are you saying that Disney is built for us? Because that's not what I am saying. I never said that Disney was built for us. So I need you to clarify that. Shout out to Raria Ben Israel. Thank you for that. Must read the book Black Rednecks and White Liberals. Must read the book Black Rednecks and White Liberals. So y'all go ahead and get that book, right? Y'all go ahead and get that book. So as I start to wrap up my show, here's what I'm saying to you guys. We are all part of a social experiment. You think because that happened with that family this year at Disney World or in 2019 with the other horrific fight. I mean, it happens all the time. I'm just naming real big popular ones that the mainstream media picked up. You think because it happened to them that there is an us and them when it comes to us? No. And so many of us, we have that mindset. We say, well, that ain't me. That's dumb. I ain't got nothing to do with it. I don't act like that. I feel you. I'm right there with the white people. I don't know why they act like that because I don't act like that. Not my kids. My kids know better than that. We don't act like that. All of that stuff may be true. You may not act like that. Your children may not carry themselves like that. That may not be your mindset. All of that is true. But when you think, what do you think happens where they show that and they broadcast that over mainstream media and it goes to millions and millions and millions of people and it paints a narrative, it paints a picture of that black family that's acting like that? Do you think that most of the people in America is going to say it's just that black family? Right? Most of the people, when they see that video on the news channels, they're not going to say it's just that family. When you with your family, and you could be the best thing since sliced bread, when you on the line at Disney with your family, and your little girl or your little boy is just being children, and they may be running around playing tag, You think they're going to see your children as little children just running around and playing tag? Or are they going to see your children as something else? You think because you having flavor and you acting fun and you laughing, you dancing, you having fun, and that's what y'all do. Y'all all out there taking selfies, and you know we do extra when we take pictures. We just extra. You know how we do when we do all that extra stuff. You think they're going to see that as that is just them taking pictures and it's no big deal? You think they're going to see it like that with all that propaganda that's going out there with these fights showing our families over and over again, fighting each other, pushing our grandmamas down at Disney to jump over our grandmama's head to hit somebody else in the head? You think they're going to just see it as, oh, they're just taking pictures? Do you think they're going to see it like that? No, we're not a monolith community. We're so diverse. But what I'm saying to you is, even though we know that we are a diverse community of people, we know that we're not a monolith. Do you think that they're going to see us as different? No. In order for you to see us as different, you have to have an individual experience with us to say they're different. How many of us have gotten that? Oh, well, you speak differently than everyone else. Oh, you're just different. You're just different. How many of us have gotten those microaggressions? You're just different. Shout out to Donald. Thank you for that, Donald. How many of us have gotten those microaggressions? Right? That's right, mama. Nigga, my spiritual mom. Yeah, they see us collectively. So if you don't think it's an accident, if you don't think it's intentional, that video is out there, like somebody said it got leaked, that it was put out there on purpose. It was put out there on purpose. And they're going to keep on putting videos like this out there on purpose because everybody else is organized and moving together. And I hope we are doing it in larger numbers. New York City done dropped their gun laws. You no longer have to apply to carry a gun outside and get denied. You can now apply to have your carry permit and carry that gun outside now in New York. Baltimore quickly followed right after that. See, I'm just trying to tell y'all, you got to understand that something is going on, and y'all got to stop looking at these things as isolated incidents, and you got to start taking all these pieces of the puzzles and putting them together and painting a bigger picture so that you can be prepared. Somebody said, do you think Sesame Street has something to do with this to take the pressure off of them? Something to do with the fight in Disney World? I'm not sure I'm understanding the correlation of your question. Can you reword that for me in a different way so I can understand it better and I'll be able to better answer you? Because I'm not following that one. That's right, piece of candy. Follow that bouncing ball. Somebody said too lazy to be role models. Who's too lazy to be role models? We got a lot of black excellent role models out there. See, you can lead a horse to water. You can't make a horse straight. So I don't understand what you mean when you say too lazy to be role models. I don't understand that. See, people who don't see themselves as having an issue or a problem, they can never be role models. They think they're being a role model by taking their kids to Disney World. So I'm not sure if I understand what you're saying, Ariel. Can you break that down for me a little bit more so I can understand exactly what you're saying? Because there's a whole bunch of role models out there. But if we keep looking at our community as a monolith, we're not going to see the diversity in our community. The world sees us as a collective. We're not, the world sees us as a monolith, like we're all the same, but we are a collective. We're not a monolith. We're not one way. We don't all think the same way. We don't all act the same way, but as long as they keep putting out these dog whistles, they're going to shape the mind of the people to believe we are all behaving like that. Did y'all get to take the kids to Disney, Doctor? Or were you always like, F it? I took my oldest children to Disney when they were babies, and I never went back. There's no need for me to see. Dr. Shonna didn't wake up and was always aware and conscious. That didn't happen. I did what the propaganda told me to do as well when I was younger. When you a 20-something-year-old mom, you got your children, you married, you doing what they tell you the American dream is. This is what the American dream does. You get a house, we buy a house. We had a house. You got children, we had children. You married, we married. You take them, your children and your husband and your wife to Disney World. We took them to Disney World. That's what we did. And when I got in there, I said, what a waste of fucking money. When it come back, the flight was terrible. With little kids on the flight. Who wants that kind of stress and pressure? I never went back. Never went back. Now, would I go and take my kids to Disney World now? No, absolutely not. Not no Disney World, not no Disneyland, no Disney, nothing. I ain't going to Walt to see Walt do a goddamn thing. But because of where I am right now in life, my kids ain't got to go there. You can watch their own TV, have fun if you want to. But nowadays, you can't even let your kids sit down and watch no damn Disney channels anymore because all types of crazy things go on Disney now because they're too busy trying to be inclusive of everything. I ain't going to say everyone because that don't bother me. Everyone don't bother me. Everything, not everything is made for TV, and they're trying to be a little bit too inclusive for me. So my 8-year-old don't know a damn thing about Disney. He ain't going to sit down and watch that either. You better read a book. You better go get Ida B. Wells off my dresser and read that book. You still owe me a report. That's what you could do. Right? So Ariel answered for me. Ariel said, in my experience as a teacher, I've seen a lot of us just not care about how we present ourselves nor represent us. And I get your point, Ariel. And what I'm saying from what I was educating on today, what I'm saying is when you are the target of a social experiment that has lasted for generations, generation after generation, generational poverty, generational ignorance, right? Generational ninjas. It exists. Let's not act like it don't exist. When we get on TV, we start getting all high and mighty and thinking these things don't exist. They exist. What I'm saying, Ariel, is they may think that they're modeling because that is all that they know. They may think that that's the way to do. See, who are we to determine for them what is modeling? See, if their culture is do or die, it's me or you, and that's how they think, then they're going to teach their little kids that same concept. And they're going to carry it into the different institutions they go into. School, hospital, whatever, camp, whatever, church, whatever. They're going to, if they even going to church, right? They're going to be doing that. Case in point, I'm going to tell you this one thing. I'm going to go, y'all can look at this too, because they took it down off of YouTube. But if you go to, I forgot the name of that news channel. I swear I forgot. I just had it up. It's a off-record news channel. But nonetheless, I don't know if it's Minnesota. It might be Minnesota or Minneapolis. You can Google one of those. A toddler. Anybody saw this? The toddler and his little sister. The sister's in diapers, and she's about 3 years old, so clearly her behind wasn't on the potty. And he's in little underwears, his superhero underwears, no shirt on, no socks on, no pants on. He's in his underwears and she's in her diapers with her hair all looking all crazy. You know how they let some of the kids outside, hair looking all crazy. The police went to the home to serve a warrant on somebody who committed a crime and needs to be arrested. And he was met in the street by these little toddlers. Right? Somebody said it's on Smart News. That's not the news I'm talking about, but thank you for that. Somebody says it's on Smart News. But he was met in the street by these little toddlers and maybe some 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, right? Right, Chris? 8-year-old, 9-year-olds, something like that. And the little toddlers are cussing out the police officer, punching the police officer, Little 3, 4-year-old raggedy little things. Cussing them out. What are those church shoes? That's what the little boy said. You got these church. Get the fuck out of here. Get out of here, you Oreo head. Calling a black officer Oreo, indicating he's black on the outside, white on the inside. Get out of here, you little Oreo head. F you, get out of here. Fuck you up. Little raggedy little kids. I swear I wish I would have kept it on my thing. I would have played the video for you. All right, see my spiritual mom saw it, right? Little raggedy little kids hitting the cops, cursing, acting out, and the cops were just so patient. They were just so patient. I mean, I couldn't be a cop. I'll tell my boyfriend that all the time. My boyfriend's a cop. I couldn't be a cop. I told him, I said, shit. I'll be reading up. I won't have my job. I'll take that little raggedy son of a so-and-so. I sure would. I ain't gonna lie to you. I sure would. Spitting on me, punching. You are not gonna do that to me. You and your mama be in this car, keep playing with me. But that's what they did. So what I'm saying to you is, how does a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old use such foul, vulgar, nasty language toward an officer, have no respect for an officer, punching and hitting the officer, calling the officer names? How does a 3 and 4-year-old behave like that? Who were their role models? Yeah, the people in the community and their mamas too, and their mamas' boyfriends, and probably their daddies too. Right? Them little kids don't know that stuff. That is modeled for them. So Ariel, what I'm saying to you is, I get your perspective, but again, language is serious. We're saying that they're not role modeling. They're not modeling how we would want them to model, but they're modeling all right. Right? Ariel says, considering that some of the family was trying to stop the fight, someone was taught better. That may not be true. We just chose that route sometimes because our pride and anger. That may not be true. See, we can't think that way because everybody has a human response to danger. Fight, flight, or freeze. Some people are going to stop when they see a fight, and they're not going to know what to do. They're going to be scared. They ain't going to be able to move because they're going to freeze. Some people are going to fight right back. Some people are going to flee. They don't want the fight, so they're going to be grabbing you, breaking you up because their internal system says, no, I don't like fights. I don't like fights. I'm either going to run. I'm going to try to get my loved one out of here. Let's go. This is dangerous. This is dangerous. That doesn't mean because they were modeled correctly. Hell no. That don't mean that. That's not how the human brain works. Right? Piece of candy said, I'm a whole runner. Some people be ready. They be ready no matter what. I'm done. Right? I'm done. I ain't got nothing else to give for today. I don't. What point am I driving home? Let me just tell you the point I'm driving home so I can be out of here. Right? Yes, you're absolutely right. Right? K.R. Wood said the first 5 years are so critical. That was sad to watch. These little kids was acting up. Baby! They said we can't beat kids. Woo! I wasn't a doctor on TV and a mandated reporter. I would have some things to say. I promise you, behind closed doors, I got some things to say for them little 3 and 4-year-olds. Couldn't do that in my house. Oh, no, sorry. No, you could not. I wish CPS would knock on my door. I wish they would. Disrespecting the law. No respect. And so many of us think it's cute and funny. Little man just protecting his community. You know what I'm saying? Little ninja protecting his community. No, he not. He don't know a goddamn thing about protecting nothing. He's 3 and 4 years old. Somebody need to say, little son gonna change them funky behind diapers and underwears. That's what they need to do. Right? I can't stand no little cussing raggedy behind kids. Just saying. So here's what I'm saying to y'all. I agree the Disney fight should not have happened. But I need you all to scratch your head and say, why was this on mainstream media? Why is this everywhere? You can Google it. It's going to come up everywhere. You don't even have to search for it. You know, some news that we find out that it'll make the mainstream media, we got to search for, we got to find it, we got to call somebody, say, where'd you get that video you sent? Can you send it to me again? I can't find it because we can't find it. We can't Google it. We can't find it. But this one here, you put fight at Disney World, it's everywhere. It just comes up everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. It just comes up. Why? Why? Why, people? Y'all got to ask that question. Why is this making news? What is the dog whistle? Family, they're watching us. Family, they're preparing. Family, it ain't going to get better. It ain't going to get better. You're going to blink your eyes tonight. You're going to wake up tomorrow, and you're going to be in the same category as the very people you try to run away from, because they know what they're doing. I'll tell you like that. This is not a post-racial era. Don't believe the nonsense. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. They know what they're doing, and y'all better be prepared. So family, I love every last one of y'all. Thank you so much. If you're not following me on Instagram, where it's all about relationships, I haven't done a video most recently, but I have done things with my boo. We do videos together every now and then. So you can come over to Instagram and go ahead and follow me over there. And if you have not already, visit my site, ladies, for your massage oil candles and your pheromone cologne, perfume. I suggest you go ahead and visit helpingcouplesreconnect.com. Have some fun in your bedroom. Keep your family intact. Don't forget to keep the love there. You know, love brings down your stress levels, so you won't be in Disney World fighting and acting like a fool. Go ahead and bring down your stress levels. Connect with your partner. Bring some love back into your household. Bring back some love into your bedroom, into your relationship. Bring the stress levels down, right? Love on each other. Visit the website, helpingcouplesreconnect.com. Love every last one of y'all. Have a great night.